Hello, welcome back. Today I want to try something new. I know the last couple of episodes have been about movies, and I want to say thank you to all of the people that suggested movies that I should watch. I think I'm going to try to do like an omnibus video for that to sort of like knock them out quickly, give you my thoughts quickly, but they were all very good. I'm very excited to watch some and then rewatch others. But today I want to talk about a TV show, specifically one that's happening right now, and that is White Lotus. If you haven't seen the season, it isn't much of a spoiler because the way the White Lotus works is there's not really much to be spoiled unless you're talking about the last day. And if you've never seen the White Lotus, I'm going to make an impassioned case for it at the end of this episode, just to get you as excited about it as I am. And I think largely a lot of people around are pretty excited about it so far. If you don't know who I am, my name is Aaron Murray Vasquez. I'm a filmmaker in New York City. Let's get started. So I want to talk about Season 3, Episode 5, Full Moon Party, specifically the scene between Rick and his old buddy Frank. But first, I'd like to set up the scene before it happens to sort of explain why it's so fascinating to me. So those of us that are up to date on the White Lotus, this episode deviates from the entire structure. Usually, every episode of the White Lotus starts in the morning.
It's 1 p.m. It's time for lunch. Remember to wash your hands.
Unbelievable. Every episode has a beginning, middle, and end, and it corresponds with the beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day. This episode deviates because it's split into two. The morning, the afternoon, and the evening all happen in episode 4. The full moon party, which everyone's been talking about all season, happens in episode 5. And I'm really glad that it was broken up because there's so much happening in this episode. A lot of people have criticized this season for being slow. I am not one of those people. I think this season has been jam-packed. So Rick goes to Bangkok for like a reason we don't really know yet, but he's there to meet his old buddy Frank. And Frank is played by Sam Rockwell. Yes, that's Sam Rockwell. That's Sam Rockwell. That's Sam Rockwell. I know he's Leslie Bibb's partner, and when I'm watching this immediately sends up alarms. Like, they did not just fly Sam Rockwell to Bangkok to do this little meet and greet. Something amazing is about to happen. Also, I'd like to say they live in my area of New York. Very proud of them. Usually in New York, you want to just not bother people in the entertainment business, but if I ever see them now, I'm just going to be like, y'all killed it. Y'all were awesome. Loved it. Okay, so as the episode heats up, Frank orders a chamomile tea. Rick is unsettled by this already. We learn that Frank is 10 months sober.
You're not drinking?
Been sober 10 months.
And Rick, it kind of like sends alarms up for him too. Wait a minute. We've never even been sober together.
I don't think we've ever hung out sober. Ever.
This dude used to take it to the next level. How next level? We're about to find out. You could see Frank's head kind of turning, not sure what to make of what Rick is doing. And when Rick hears this as well, he also is a little unsettled. He also doesn't know how to feel. And this has been a pattern with Rick. He doesn't know how he feels.
Tell me, how do you feel today?
I don't know.
What do you feel?
I don't know.
And the full moon party for the rest of the episode is heating up. It's ramping up. There's explosions, there's dancing, there's drugs, there's all these things. It all comes to a screeching halt back in Bangkok when Frank tells Rick what he's been doing in Thailand recently. The scene begins with a wide shot of the two of them. And this scene slowly feels like it's descending into madness. Frank explains that he was insatiable when he arrived in Thailand. 1,000 nights of having sex with multiple women of all shapes and sizes have driven him mad. He didn't know why he was so attracted to the shape of a Thai woman, but having sex wasn't going to be enough. So he tried to become a Thai woman. He explains how he threw on lingerie. He looked for somebody that specifically looked like him on the outside because he wanted to feel like a Thai woman on the inside. And the next few minutes, Frank explains to Rick the depths of his exploration into his own identity, which I won't play because, this being a first time thing, I don't know how HBO is going to flag any of this on YouTube, but also I think you should watch this scene in its entirety and within the context of the episode, because it's one of the most fascinating conversations I've ever seen put to television. And both Sam Rockwell and Walton Goggins are acting their ass off. And they're not even doing that much. Goggins' character, Rick, is being washed with revelation after revelation after revelation. And this is his old friend. And so at first he kind of thinks he's joking, but as it becomes more serious, the level of how much Frank knows about himself and Rick doesn't, I think scares Rick a little bit. You can see something dawning on him. It's become sort of a meme of Rick's face. But Rockwell playing Frank, he's both luring Rick in, but also confessing to Rick in a way that that's hard to sort of compare to anything else. This is exactly why you bring in somebody like Sam Rockwell for this kind of scene, for this kind of character, somebody who's not afraid to give a performance like this. And somebody across from him, Walton Goggins, who can be the perfect partner in that scene. And I want to do a little sidebar. I'm going to put a little bar here while I tell this story so you know how long it is. I feel like I've been like Rick in this situation, not necessarily to the extent that Rick and Frank are talking about, but sometimes as you get older, you'll connect with old friends. After years to catch up on what's been happening, you stumble into moments of honesty, parts of their lives that they are still trying to reckon with or are trying to communicate to you is happening, and they tell you some stuff and you want to embrace them with your energy, but you also don't know what's happening. You don't know sort of totally how to handle the situation. So I want to sort of like yes and in order to support them. Rick tries to do that in this scene. I thought it was brilliant. I think the season is really exploring gender identity. Saxon being a big buff dude, his brother having more of a slender body, and in the posture class they say that he's protecting his feminine side, he's protecting his female side, seeing the White Lotus staff and the Ratliff family questioning what their gender is, and then the staff showing up in Victoria's dream after they see them with Lachlan. But Frank's monologue in the middle of this insane full moon party brings the idea of gender and identity to the front of mind. What if who we are on the outside is not who we actually are on the inside? What if who we are on the outside doesn't match who we want to be on the inside? What if they're not the same? Frank went exploring to see who he was. We start this monologue with a wide shot of the two of them in the lounge, and we end the scene with them fractured through the glass again. That's cinema, folks. Okay, impassioned pitch time. The White Lotus is about a group of guests that arrive at the very elite, very exclusive White Lotus hotel. And during the week, things go off the rails for all of these characters because this place is so exclusive, this place is so expensive. We get to deal with a lot of families, we get to deal with a lot of high-end individuals, and we get to deal with the staff that take care of them. Every season has a new location. Every season has a new death. Every season has almost an entire new cast of characters. My favorite thing about The White Lotus is the relationships and the subcultures that Mike White explores. I mean, the first season is about colonialism and privilege. The second one is about relationships, sexuality, adultery. And this third one seems to be having a similar theme of gender and identity. It's sort of the opposite of what a lot of films are doing. I love films like Knives Out and Midsommar and The Menu and Saltburn, but those films are poking fun at so many of the characters and the genre that they're in. As a movie, they work and I appreciate them and their endeavors, but that's not real life. Mike White has a real honesty with The White Lotus. The show seems like it should be as cynical as those films, but it is wrapped in beauty, it is wrapped in love, redemption, emotion, empathy, heartache, wealth, and nature. It never really judges its characters too much, and almost always it gets you to try to understand where each character is coming from, especially the ones we don't want to like. Cameron, Daphne, Shane, Tanya. Every episode we get to find out more about them and the world they're actually in versus the world they project, inside, outside. And I feel like the scene between Rick and Frank is a microcosm of the entire show. So So I just wanted to kind of talk about that scene and how impressed I was by it. So if you want to see more, like and subscribe, and make sure to hit the bell and share it with people. I mean, I've been getting some subscribers, and I really appreciate everybody. I really like all your comments. If you comment, I'll comment back. And it makes me happy that I get to sort of connect with y'all about movies I like and things I want to watch. But if there are fellas out there, I do want to say that gender is a construct. I'm wearing, this is my wife's shirt. You know what I mean? Dude talk. I feel like there's something very masculine about wearing something that is a little bit more feminine. Sometimes I'll go to the men's department, but oftentimes I'll also go to the women's department because they've got different shapes, they got different colors, they got different ideas. Men we're often given gray, black, navy. That's all we get. A button down, a t-shirt, a hoodie. And it wasn't until I started exploring the women's side of the department I felt more free and I felt more masculine being able to be a man wearing a woman's clothes. It's the same reason why Dave Bautista can do it. It's just like a spectrum, and I feel like it's like sweet and savory. You don't want to load up too much on one versus the other because it becomes too much. It becomes too toxic. Fortunately, my wife and I wear the same size, so it has been easier for me to do this, but I feel like I've just, real talk, felt more comfortable with having all my guy stuff on and then just throwing something, especially like this, on over the top. So that's my dude talk. That's my partial way of trying to de-radicalize some of the boys on YouTube. Come on now. We can do better as men. And I think we should do better as men. And if that means throwing on a cute little blouse over your fucking cool ass masculine shit, you can do that. I believe in you. You can do that. Anyways, like and subscribe, baby. I'll see you soon.
Hey, we all have our Achilles heel, man, Where does it come from? Why are some of us attracted to the opposite form? And some of us the same. Sex is a poetic act. It's a metaphor. Metaphor for what? Are we our forms? Am I a middle-aged white guy on the inside, too? Or inside, could I be an Asian girl?
Right. I don't know.